right, today, guys. Oliver, what is the topic for today?
Okay, so this is a very interesting topic, and it's been sort of in my mind for a long time. Um, and finally, I thought this episode number, is the perfect time to talk about it. So during COVID and after COVID, there's been a large or a massive shift in the way we work. Majority of the workforce is now remote, and it looks like this trend is here to stay. This trend is here to continue. A large quantity of the workforce is now going back, right? So in terms of investors, I was thinking, how does it impact us? What are the trends that we can see that we sort of can capitalize on in order to make money? So I really wanted to have your guys' perspective on this to see what you think about this.
So, what do you mean by the modern work environment? What does it mean to you?
Okay, so I'll tell you from my experience, right? I was spending 8 hours a day as a designer in my full-time job, 5 days a week, and now all of a sudden COVID hit, and we all had to shift remote. Right. Initially, it was hard. We had to get adjusted. We had to do Zoom calls. We had to do Zoom meetings and interactive sessions. Now, all of us are super comfortable with it. In fact, all of us are actually preferring working from home. And over time, I sort of experienced the fact that I'm actually getting more of my time back. Right. So, to me, work from home has been a massive increase in time that I saved from commuting, time that I've saved from like not being productive at work, water cooler conversations, pre-work, breaks, after work, all those sort of distractions. And therefore, I'm like, hold on a minute, like a lot of people are going to be facing this, right? So what's going to happen as a result of it? Do you guys see the same thing in terms of getting back your time?
Another version of this question, just to keep it interesting. Work from home, is this a necessity or a luxury? Like, there's two ways of looking at it, right?
I'll answer that one for you, Blake.
Yep.
Work from home, I think, is both a luxury and a necessity in today's day and age. I feel as human beings, we are predispositioned to be living in our own communities and having a small circle of trusted people that we enjoy spending time with, and within that circle we are the most comfortable, and that circle in today's time is our own home and our family. The closer you are to family, I think it has a massive effect on mental health as well. In my own experience, while I was working in office 5 days a week, my work-life balance was out of the window. I was not giving enough time to family. My mental health was really, really bad. But now I feel that it's really, really improved. Stress has gone down considerably. So going forward, I think it's a necessity for me, because I wouldn't take an employment offer from anyone who wouldn't give me the opportunity to work from home.
Spending all the extra time with family is not necessarily relaxing. It can be the contrary. But it does have its perks, that's for sure.
Yeah. But in terms of, do you ask like the dichotomy of either it's a necessity or is it a luxury?
There is an in-between, I think. Necessity, yes, during initial part of COVID, it was a necessity. There's no other choice. And calling it a luxury is also like a bit on the other end. I think it is an option, which it wasn't before. And having that option available sort of helps everybody. So it's been proven to be a win-win-win for the company, the employee, and overall productivity. So people have been equal, if not more productive, working from home, as well as employees are happy, employees have more optionality, so it's another option. I see it. I don't see it as a luxury or as a necessity.
That's true. And most of us have been able to use this option to our advantage. We have changed our lifestyle, and this change in lifestyle also triggers very important question in terms of what economic sectors are affected by this changing lifestyle. Uh, as simple as opting to work from home instead of working in an office environment has huge impacts in how the economy works. Where you would spend money on filling up your car, you now spend on walking to a cafe maybe. So there are different ways how our lifestyle changes can affect different sectors of the economy. What do you guys think about that?
I agree. Of course, with lifestyle changes, the way we work has changed. The entire global economy is going to change. What we buy, what we use. Like if you look right now, the stock market, you would see that as soon as the pandemic hit, we all knew where the money was to be made. It was stay-at-home stocks like Peloton, stocks like Roblox, and all of these companies which facilitated the work from home lifestyle, I think did really well. But what we are seeing is not necessarily the continuation of this trend, because maybe some people, it's not a 100% ratio of people who like working from home. When the option to work from office started, stocks like other working outside stocks started booming again. These are airlines, which travel stocks, which require you to be on the move. But then I think there's also, there's in between both of these, there's also these companies which profit from both, and that's Airbnb, something where people travel yet stay in different houses, so work from home but while traveling. I think the global economy is moving towards that.
Before we go into like specific examples, I want to talk about, like, you spoke about the stay-at-home stocks, right? To me, those were like, literal examples. But I think the situation is much bigger than that, in the sense that the amount that people have been spending at work, right? So again, 40 hours a week, just tweaking that over a large group of audience can create such shifts in the economy that even we can't even fathom, I think, the changes that are going to happen in the subsequent years ahead. And I'm like super sort of bullish on that. But I'd like us to think out louder and think out of the box as to, what are those crazy changes that are going to happen as a result of 40 hours a week per person being taken away and got back into the home.
One thing we try to give our viewers, apart from our very valued opinions, is also investing ideas. So let's look at different sectors. So just the sectors, no companies, no examples. Sectors, the obvious sectors being airline, hospitality. So these are sectors which have not done well and are looking on like it's going to be on a decline. And there are sectors which have done well, which is appliances, furniture, and everything related to home, everything related to inside your home, the gardening industry. So let's keep it interesting. Let's try and pick out some niche industries. Is there more industries that we are not seeing? More spoke about Airbnb, which was an interesting example because it falls in the traditional hospitality sector, but at the same time, it falls slightly in the working from away from office example. So that's a nice exception. So is there any other industries
One
which
that
comes to
comes
your mind?
directly, instantly to my mind is Meta, the metaverse. We're all going to be living in alternate reality. I feel, and it's coming sooner or later. I think Facebook is at the forefront of this, and I think the metaverse as such and virtual reality, the entire online gaming and immersive experiences are going to be a big sector which is going to boom.
I see that as the entertainment sector, right? So anything that has to do with virtual entertainments. Streaming has had like crazy year. Gaming, social media, and now in the future, Meta, if it takes off, can have like outsized growth because of this extra time that people have in their hands.
I mean, that's really interesting. So technology and all social media. So those are the key drivers of the economy in this modern age. So let's look at some traditional industries which people may overlook but are on a slow decline. One example which came to my mind was the oil and gas industry. Do you think that the traditional industries are being affected because of this changing lifestyle?
Yeah, some of them, but not the oil and gas industry. I don't think. I think. One of the stats that I read recently is that counterintuitively, instead of traffic being lesser, which you might think because people are living from home, counterintuitively, traffic congestion has gone up in cities. And you know why that is? It's because people are living further away from their office now. And now they're having to travel more. and that means increase in the use of vehicles. And as much as we'd like to think that EVs have taken over, it's the IC engine which is ruling the world still. And an uptake like this, it you won't think of it as like how Oliver said, right? A small percentage of people are living away from the city can totally change the landscape of statistics. And this is one area, traffic, where just a small majority of people who moved outside the city are now causing traffic congestion worse than it was pre-COVID.
I'm actually also the other thing reminds me. I'm surprised that traffic has increased. that definitely shocked me. But I'm just speculating here, but I have no data to back it up. It's like historically, people have been sitting in one room for 8 hours, spending all the electricity in one building, right? Surely that is more efficient than people using crazy amount of electricity in their own homes distributed, right? Like, obviously, I think that they'll be spending more electricity, whether that's, for their devices, for their stuff. So that would actually increase the amount of energy that has been used and
benefit from it, especially since majority of the developing countries still depend on the oil and gas industry for its energy needs. That's true. The stats from China especially have shown that the demand for traditional renewable resources, right, non-renewable resources, has been at the highest this year. So that really brings into the question what other industries are indirectly affected, which are one example which comes to my mind is food delivery services. 100%. This was a really low margin business before the pandemic, but during the pandemic it has given an opportunity for this industry to grow. And
ironically, the food delivery, they did well. They did really, really well during COVID, but they didn't do as well as one would think, just because apparently more people started cooking at home with that extra time. People ended up like buying woolly stuff and like cooking it themselves. But they did grow quite well.
But then I feel, you know what, the counterforce to that was the rising wages of people. So the people who are doing deliveries didn't have to do that because the workforce started leaving traditional jobs and seeking the gig economy. And the boom in gig economy caused a rise in number of people wanting to do the job. And then couple that in with COVID, the headwinds from COVID were actually more than the tailwinds for these work from home. The food delivery marketplaces. So what happened is there were a shortage of delivery drivers, shooting up the prices of even Uber drivers, Uber Eats. All of them are getting paid way more than they would have. I mean, all of us know, right? We have been in a situation when we were in uni and we tried all of these gig economy jobs. Today, a gig economy worker is able to pay off his entire uni fees if he works diligently enough. I think, yeah.
Really?
If we have any more international students left, that is.
That's also, yeah.
Haven't they? Haven't we?
Well, we
driven
didn't drive them
already?
away. We just didn't take
Okay.
any more in, which is, I guess, akin to drive them away.
Well, don't worry. I think the economy next year needs more cash, so that you should see a lot more immigrants docking on the port. So that is actually a really good example. That's one thing which I had on top of my mind. With changes to border restrictions, it means, especially for Australia, where the service industry, which it primarily is the education industry, is one of the biggest contributors to the economy. So with the borders being open, there's one direct benefactor is the universities and the amount of money they bring into the economy. But with international students, it's not just the money they bring in fees, it's also the money they spend in the local economy, and also contributing to hospitality industry by making up for the shortages. So there will be other impact with more immigration coming in next year. What do you guys think?
Well, my brother has been actually trying to study abroad for the longest time now because of COVID. His plans were totally derailed. So I think, yeah, international students play a huge role in Australian economy. The last I read was more than several $billion worth of money which just comes in because of international students. Cutting that off now, I don't think we're still in that phase where we're feeling the pinch of this, because even the international students who come in are either 2 years or 3 years and then stay back for other jobs. So we still are just entering the phase where we're going to feel the crunch of not having international students here. The place that did already see a crunch was the farming industry, because a lot of people from the UK and the European countries come into Australia on a 6-month or 3-month student visa, work in farms, and these farms didn't have anyone to pick. If you go down to your local Woolies now, you're going to see that the prices of fruits have actually gone up, and some fruits are not available. Some fruits are hands down not available because people didn't have anyone to pick them from the tree, and they rotted on the tree. This is the stage we are living through at the moment.
What a terrible situation! Like their demand's off the roof, but they don't have supply, so it's like they can't capitalize on it.
Incredible.
That's true. Also, now that we're looking at the different sectors, do you guys have any hot stock picks and some inside information?
Well, if I had inside information, or any of us had inside information, we gave it here, we'd probably be looking at going to jail. So let's not give any insider.
Yeah, so one of the sectors we didn't speak about, I mean, we spoke about it in passing, is the home, investing in the home, right? So anything that has to do with furniture is the obvious one, but home repairs, home services, you know, you notice that crack in the wall, but you didn't do anything for 6 years, and now you cannot not notice it. So you had to fix it during COVID. So anything like fixing things in the home. One of the ideas I had is, and this is like out there, home DIY is going to increase. I'm thinking like a lot of people, because of they have more time, because they're sitting at home, they'll want to do things themselves, whether that is fixing things themselves or building things at home, DIY project, you know, renovating their bathroom, kitchen, whatever. One of the stocks that I invested recently was Wesfarmers in Australia, so in ASX, because Wesfarmers owns Bunnings warehouse, which is literally the only hardware and DIY store in Australia. What else? Yeah, what do you think about that?
I can suggest one stock which just comes to mind. I've heard of this company called CSR, which provides building products, and they've really had a good year. If you look them up for as their performance for this year, they've had a fairly good return, and the rise in building constructions and the overall real estate market has had a really good performance from them this year. So the building industry is really is finding its one best
Yeah,
time
so
in a really
some of
long
the
time.
stocks, as you said, CSR, there's West Farmers in the US, there's Costco, there and the obvious ones like Walmart, Kmart, Target, they're continuing to do well, and they've crushed it during COVID.
Yep.
I think
That's true.
I'm gonna be a bit of a cynic on this one and say that I wouldn't invest in any stock which is work from home or getting headwinds from the work from home phenomena. Only because I think they've already reached ultra high valuations. If you want, I think the right time to invest was mid of the pandemic, like last year. All of the companies that you're talking about, CSR, West Farmers, have already grown 50 to 60% already, and their price to earning ratio have jumped or doubled or tripled in the past 1 year. And I think that's already been built into their price, which is 10 years from now, what they're going to earn is what you're paying for right now. So I think that entire industry of work from home is something that I'm actively avoiding at the moment. And if I did have gains previously, I've left it in there. One such company that I invested in and had like really good growth, but now I have divested out of, is Peloton. I actually bought Peloton like mid of this year, which is 2021. It's doing already pretty well. I bought it and it still went up and gave me 20-30% profit, and then I thought like, yeah, it's reached a crazy valuation, and so I sold it, and it's dropped like 70 after. So I think it's time to be moving out.
It's also to factor in the key question: is this a spike in economic activity for this sector, or is this a change in consumerism? Sorry,
No,
focus so long.
100%. So, which is what like I want to talk about. The market capitalized on that spike, right? And we all agree that it was a spike. Everyone, as you said, was a necessity, so everyone had to go back home. However, a large or a certain chunk of people have now gone back to work. But what I'm talking about is like a generational shift in the way we spend money. So I'm not looking for the small spike that will happen because of demand and supply, but I'm thinking what some of these companies could outlast this sort of the change or the shift in consumer spending. So home DIY, home furnishing, it's probably like had that initial spike and fallen off. Like all of these companies have now fallen off 50-60%, but I'm saying the market is sort of thinking that it's not going to come back up. But I'm saying that this is a sort of a generational shift, and all these companies will eventually do really well. Picking the right company is hard, but I think they'll come back.
100%. One thing we should mention here is that the performance of a stock or the stock value doesn't necessarily correlate with the actual performance of a company. Like Peloton is still a freaking really good company. They're killing it with their sales, their growth in their
Subscription.
key subscriptions and all of those key metrics. Peloton is still killing it, but I think the way we are looking at it in terms of stock price is the wrong way to go about it. Like Hansel said, it's going to be a generational shift where work from home stocks are actually, or the entire sector of working from home is going to do well, but picking the exact right company that will do well, it's really hard. If we could, we'd be millionaires, all of us. because we just have to put all our money in there and see it grow.
That's true. All right. Since we looked at the sectors and a few uh, a few good examples for companies, so let's start with a really interesting question. I'll just ask around the room: are you happy with your job? Raise your hand if you're happy with your job. So, do you think that during the pandemic you've had a lot of enlightenment? This question is not to Mo. This question is to Oliver. Do you think that you had think about what makes you happy and what drives your passions?
Yeah, so there's two things to that question. One is what you asked, is that yes, not particularly happy working in a full-time role. I, especially in the last year and a half, have been constantly thinking about what can I do, off my own, by myself, something on the side, something like my own business, and I've been like tinkering and playing around with different ideas, largely not successful, but 100% thinking about how I can go my own way, right? So in my experience, yes, not so happy, and I'm looking at different options at the moment. The second point, what I wanted to make was that this really brings into light like the whole trend that's happening right now of people trying to do side hustles and side projects, which like some of us are also doing, and I'm also trying. So I definitely
Yep.
am a sort of
Yep.
like supporter of that. Mo, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that's it. Everyone wants to move away from their 100% dedicated job, so you don't have to depend on an employer giving you money to live. But at the same time, for me, uh, I think we are wired to want more and more each time. Before the pandemic, if you told me that I'd be working 3 days from home, getting paid the same, I'd laugh in your face and say, no way, my employer, any employer will not agree for that. And I'm doing that today. So I'm actually kind of pleased with my job in that aspect. But of course, if I had the opportunity to go 100% in my side hustle, whichever it might be, I would take it, because working for someone else will not produce the same happiness as being creative and creating your own stuff. Going
Do
back
you-
to the. Oh,
Do
sorry,
you
go
think
ahead.
that it's anything to do with the fact that people are now feeling disassociated with the companies or brands that they work for, not having to like go to their workplaces and spend time with their work colleagues? Do you think that has anything to play?
I think yes, because one, having a choice of a social circle, you will naturally pick someone more related or more relatable to you, which are your family members and the people you live with and are closer with. Like now you have the option to do that. You can go catch up with your friend's working in one room, you're working in another room, and at the end of the day you don't want to be having like namesake friends at work can be professional and home can be personal.
And I think let's take the cue from Oliver where he started about two aspects of your happiness at work. The first one is, are you genuinely happy at what you do during your work hours? And second aspect is, would you like to do more work after your work hours? So the first aspect, what you do on a routine basis, uh, is this something which you've always wanted to do? And that's the important question. And I think personally, I've seen this happening across me in my own company, and I've heard this happening across different industries that people are asking themselves this question: is this what I really want to do? Because when you are in a work environment, traveling to work, with your colleagues at the work, and you're coming back home, you're so tired, you don't really think about it. You spend years and decades in doing something which you never really were very passionate about. But at the back of your mind, you know there's something which you really are enthusiastic about. You're really passionate about certain topics or certain industries that really attract you. So spending more time at home gives you more time to think about what you want to do, and I feel like the numbers show that that lot more people are starting to quit their work and look for other places. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I didn't think of it that way, but yes, that is true. Like people have had more sort of free time to think through, and when they were doing their monotonous tasks at work with their work colleagues, it might not have felt as cumbersome as doing it at home, and doing the same thing over and over again. Coupled with the amount of free time they have now to like explore other things, learn new other hobbies or learn new other skills, might have played a huge factor. I was also thinking there's another factor that is at play here, is the fact that people being away from their physical workspace, and not only physical workspace but physical colleagues, the like your bosses or your managers and everything, being away from them sort of takes away that sort of patriotism towards your company. Patriotism is the wrong word, but your allegiance to your company. So that allegiance, yeah. So they've sort of disassociated, being physically aware. They've disassociated themselves. It's more important, more worse because they are a full-time employee. Like they don't, they're not like incentivized really to perform, since they're like just a full-time employee. So could this be a reason why people are like, you know what, I really don't care about my company. I don't even feel something about the brand anymore. you know
Do you feel like you've gone from me work to I
me
work?
work, from we work to me work.
I don't want to know what you do in your own personal time, Oliver. What about you, Mo?
Yeah, I think psychologically, right, it's good, like you said, like having more time to think. When you have more time to think and you get bored, boredom is something that we all run away from, social media, apps, all of this stuff. But having the time to be bored actually has been proven to kickstart people into doing, into acting. And I think you hit on a really important point. When people have been at home alone, in restrictions, not being able to meet their friends, going out and stuff, they had the time to sit and contemplate and think about them in their life at this particular point. And direct consequences of that is that people have started taking action into changing their lives. And a majority of them, if you pick from a crowd, it's going to be particularly sure that the person is not going to be happy with the work that he's currently doing and would want to improve. And I think, this was a good a good Kickstarter for people, where they started moving away from the workforce and started thinking, I'll just quit my job. I don't even want to do it as a means to an end. Straight up quit. And you see this in the tech industry. So many people have quit. More people have quit in the tech industry, which is known to be employee friendly and all of that, than any other traditional industry. So that tells you that that people have sat at home and thought about their lives and are going to be doing more meaningful things in the future.
Meaningful to them, yeah. So tech industry, as you said, heavily whatever they call it, the tech resignation. Also, like we didn't speak about sort of like, I'd say lower level jobs, like jobs in McDonald's and retail and all that. They've been struggling to find employees, and they've been trying to incentivize them to start working again. But people don't want to go back to those jobs anymore. there's a record number of businesses that have been created in 2021. It's and like mid 2020 to 2021, highest there's ever been, right? So these are all like incredible signs that people have, sort of moved away from the pack, and they're going their own way, starting their own thing.
I have been contemplating different career choices myself, and I normally go up to this website called as Seek.com. So the other day, I had a thought in my head. There must be a lot more people who is using these services. So I looked up at the stock for Seek.com, SEK, and I realized that these guys have done really well this year. This is a company which has I wouldn't say struggled to grow, but had hit a certain saturation point maybe 2 years back. But this year has been good, and we've been coming out of lockdown, and it generally means a good a sectorial push in changing, and that's one industry which has had shown that signs of it. So I think we've looked at one aspect of work. The second aspect, which is really interesting, and it's a really growing industry, is the side hustles. Not many people would pick up a second job when they were working as a full-time employee, or not many people would do multiple part-time jobs as a regular routine. So I think side hustles has grown enormously because of ease of access due to technology and changing industrial demand for part-time employees. What do you guys think about that?
I think side hustles are the number one outcome of the pandemic, in terms of the shift in how people want to make money. They don't want to be making money from a traditional job. They want to be making money from several sources, and if one clicks, that is all you need. I read about this one guy who started his side hustle during the pandemic and now makes $70,000 a year. You know what he did? He bought fish, like rare fish, and started an aquarium in his apartment. He literally buys fish from the Amazon, etc., gets it shipped to Australia, and then his entire apartment was transformed into an aquarium. And that was his side hustle, and it's enough for him to quit his job. Like, we don't understand the niche of side hustles, right? You don't have to be a tech side hustler. You can do so many things, and I think the pandemic has really broadened up our horizons of what is possible.
Yeah, so even like a few acquaintances of mine as well. One has like an e-commerce company, which is like a Shopify store, while having a job with us, and then another one would be having a cafe. But it doesn't have to be that massive. Like the small side hustles as well, right, have taken off. Like people creating courses online, people creating podcasts, people creating YouTube videos, or TikTok videos, and making money through that. That has also absolutely skyrocketed.
Can I quote a few stats here to support your point?
Go on.
Yep, but you need to point your finger where
100%. I see anywhere on the screen, and an article will pop out, and if you click on that article, it should take you to this website. So apparently, over 1/3 of people in the UK now own their own side hustle, and over half of the side hustles were started during the pandemic. And when they were focus grouped and asked why they started their side hustle, 23% of them were prompted to reconsider long-term plans. 28% had more time and energy, and 20% were motivated to make up for lost income.
I hope OnlyFans doesn't count as a side hustle now. Oh.
So yeah.
Talking about side hustles becoming a main hustle, you see side hustles becoming more and more popular, and then people start becoming dependable. Is there a shift in the general employment contracts? Is there a shift from people going from full-time employees
Yes,
to
there.
contractual work?
We're sort of observing that in technology as well. Like people don't want to be associated full time to one company unless they are like heavily incentivized in terms of a salary or like stock, which tech companies anyway give a huge amount of stock options. But majority of the jobs right now are going to contractors, and everyone's like using this opportunity to like instead of completely hooking up to a company, to contracting for them and being your own boss and like getting paid per hour as opposed to being full time. It's huge, and I see it happening in other industries as well, and it'll grow over time.
That's true. Okay. All right. So we've had a lot of interesting points today, and it's been a really interesting session to just get our minds together and to think out louder. And I hope this episode has been enjoyable to most of the viewers. But just to summarize some of our opinions for this topic, let's start with Mo. What are your thoughts on this trend in working lifestyle and economy?
The entire population is going back to being tribal again. The shift is going to be, this is my prediction, that we will all be creative beings like Gobekli Tepe, the oldest civilization in the world. These people were creative beings and work from a forest.
Work
The
naked.
the irony of all of this is the oldest known tablet that was found was filled with mathematical data. It wasn't language that prompted us to think, it was mathematically. And today's Apple iPad, we've gone back to a tablet with a lot of economics and data and whatnot in it. So I think life is coming a full circle, man, and the world is going to go back to a tribal form of living. That's my thought of.
What about you, Oliver? Do you have a tribal outlook as well?
A little more reasonable, but I sort of share the sort of enthusiasm, kind of. The fact that people will be more independent in the future. There's going to be more one-person, two-person companies that make insane amount of money as opposed to 50,000, 100,000 employee companies like the Googles and the Amazons of the world. So there'll be more distributed companies doing really well than concentrated companies.
That's true. I believe work from home has been a really helpful luxury for people in need to work. But personally, I feel that I'm a big fan of the traditional work environment. I feel like it creates a disintegration of society as a whole. Human beings are nothing by themselves. It's how they work together as a society that's important. But I will taper off because I'm not a very popular opinion.
You're popular within our community.
Yeah, you're the third most popular here.
If the mic and the camera are the first, then I'll accept it. And so it was a really nice episode today. Thank you for joining us. Press like and subscribe if you like and if you want to subscribe. Thank you. A good night from us. Cheers.